Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day, whatever the day, wherever you're coming from. Hello, hello, hello. I am Heather Clark, your declutter expert and your host for Declutter for Change Live. And today we are going to elevate your home and clear the clutter, physical clutter today. So today we are actually going to go into Happy Wednesday. Yes, yes, yes. Happy Wednesday, the Breakthrough Show Network, aka Jessica. So today we're going to go over, I know we've already at the beginning of, before I started this 4-part series of the mind, body, home, soul section, stuff like that, that I did go into a bit of the physical clutter beforehand and just, the spaces, having individual spaces, getting into individual like styles and how to, work with that, because obviously everyone in the family is not going to do the exact same way of, organizing and decluttering and stuff like that. So today I'm going to go more about the impacts of the physical clutter, what can we do, where can we, when we do declutter, what does that do for us in life, and what does that do for us in, our family and our home and everything like that. So one of the impacts that obviously the physical part of the clutter. So when I talk physical clutter, I'm talking literally, you can see, you can touch, you can feel the actual clutter. Like it is in your home, it is in your office, it is in your bedroom, it is in the kitchen, in the bathroom, all those areas. Everything can be associated to the physical part. It is what you can see, touch. So those things are very important, because that's usually like when there's the physical clutter, I usually say the physical clutter is just a product of what's actually going on inside. So if you have a ton of physical clutter, there's chances are a lot of things going on inside. So whether in your head, in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, whatever. And one of those things that I usually say is, okay, let's start with the physical. Because you know what? Sometimes it's not so easy to understand that, yes, my brain has clutter in it. Sometimes it doesn't, we don't understand that, yeah, no, there's definitely, some spiritual clutter there too. My soul's, a little clutter, but some people don't understand that. But oh, do they understand when it becomes the physical? Because like I said, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can trip over it. It affects your, your health and well-being. So that's why I usually say, let's start there. Because that tends to be the easiest one to actually see a change, immediate change at that. So one of the things that, how this physical clutter impacts us is obviously our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our emotional, and our spiritual well-being. Those all are connected, but the physical will affect those because of the fact that, like I said, it's a byproduct of what's been going on inside. It is when you can realize, oh wait, something more is going on. But let me just start with the physical, because that seems to be that is the easiest to clear, to understand, to physically get you in the motion of clearing stuff out. And when you're, I usually say, when you're using your hands, or when you're using the physical part of your body to clear it out, just like exercise also is another physical activity that allows you to express the mental and emotional stuff as well. So when you're physically clearing that clutter, that's going to help you clear other things out. It obviously causes stress and anxiety and overwhelm, because my goodness, when you walk into your home, and let's just say your front door, your front entrance is so cluttered. Well, that's the entrance to your home. That's the entrance to you, to your family, to everything. And if that's the first part that you see, that people see when they come in, and it's cluttered, that puts you into an emotion of, oh man, I'm so terrible. I'm so lazy. I'm so this. Like the self-talk is ridiculous when it comes to that. When meanwhile, it's just clutter. It's a physical part of, oh, I had something else I had to do. I had whatever. So I totally forgot about that. I totally didn't do any of that. All that stuff. So let's clear that front entrance. Let's go to that and clear that front entrance, so that when you do walk into your home, that's not the first thing on your mind is, oh, I can't believe this area is so cluttered. I can't believe that, we can't even put shoes away. Well, no, maybe you're just a really super busy family and you kick off your shoes and you have to run upstairs, get dressed, get changed because you got kids in, in sports or, extracurricular activities, all that stuff. Or maybe, you go from work to working out to this, that, whatever. There's so many reasons why there's the clutter, especially at the front door. And so we got a thing. I've learned for me, if I'm struggling emotionally, I can't understand why I will move things around and it triggers the ability to address the non-physical. Yeah, and that's it. That's what it is. You are taking the physical part and allowing the rest of it to come through. You're allowing, and this is why, like, hey, I started a cleaning business and I didn't realize, like, obviously I love cleaning, but here's the thing. I physically clean, scrub, do whatever. Like, even though my house is pretty decently organized and pretty decently, not cluttered. We're not going to look at my kitchen right now, but anyways, but for me, it's cleaning allowed me to process all the emotions, all the thoughts, all the everything. So when I started my cleaning business, I didn't realize how therapeutic it was for me. I didn't realize that it was the best thing I could have done for the timing of when I did it and when I started it, because I was going through family court at the time. Now, of course, we're doing it again, but we're going, and it was one of those things where I didn't know. I had so many emotions going on. I had so many things happening, but that physical cleaning and that physical activity and that physical, cleaning the surface of a bathtub, who knew? I didn't know at the time that that was something that I was able to process the mental part or the emotional part that was currently going on through that time. And it was really entertaining because there were so many times where all of a sudden I was like, holy crap. And not only that, but it got me actually closer to the spiritual side too, because of all the dimes that I ended up finding in all the homes. And I was like, okay, I thought the dimes were just something that, the clients were putting, under a little soap thing because, they wanted to make sure I cleaned under there. And no, it was another time in my life where it brought me closer to my spiritual side too. So if I didn't start that cleaning business, if I didn't do the physical stuff, I wouldn't have been able to go through and get through all those times mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So yeah, so that is absolutely a huge thing, and this is why I say start with the physical, because that's usually, once you get rid of the physical stuff and once you process all the stuff that you've kept for some reason, which again, it's usually an attachment to a time period, or the item, gave you an emotional reflection of that time period. And that's why we keep things. That's why we keep it. It is the attachment we give things for the time that we got them, or it's because we spent a lot of money on them and we are still attached to that money because we think, oh, well, I spent so much money on this, I have to keep it. Well, why? Do you use it? If you don't use it, why is it in your life? If you're not giving it, and then I usually, okay, let's go with spiritualist side. Everything has a spiritual meaning of some sort or spirituality to it, regardless whether it's plants, animals, us, stuff. There is energy everywhere. So if you're allowing energy like the clutter to be in a spot in your home and just stay there, that's stagnant energy that you're allowing in your home. Why don't we take that physical stuff, mix up that energy, and guess what happens? You mix up the energy of your home and your life and your family's life too. Because when you change your life, obviously people that surround you the most are also going to be affected as well. So that's one of the big things. And not only that, but when you have that physical clutter in your home and it stays in like the corners or the closets or the junk drawers or whatever, the physical well-being of you is affected because of the dirt, the like dander, if you have animals, all stays stagnant and in there. And then you end up, like walking by it and it poofs up all the dust and all the dirt and all that stuff. Well, you're inhaling that. That's literally affecting your physical well-being. So that's another, reason why keeping your home and your physical environment up, like keeping it up, I can't even think of the word, but upkeeping, there we go. Your physical environment is important because of these reasons. Because A, first of all, it's stagnant energy in those areas. B, it's because physically speaking, you are keeping the dirt and the dander and the dead skin and all that stuff. And I know this sounds really gross and I don't want, go Google it of what actual like dust is. And then you'll be like, I don't want that in my life. I don't want that in my home. And I don't want that to affect my kids, myself, my partner, anybody. So yeah, so that's another one. And then, being able to detach from those is really, it's an interesting form of Yes, as Jessica says, gross. Yes, it is very gross because when I had my cleaning business and when I was doing that, I was researching everything. I was researching, okay, what actually is this? What is this? What is that? What kind of cleaners does best on this? Does best on that? And when I was researching, I was like, oh, that's just so gross. Like, just, yeah, it is. It is very gross. But this is why I'm saying the physical clutter, this is why we start with it first. Because when we start with the physical clutter and we clear those areas out, and we clear that dust out, and we clear all the, any mold, mildew, spider webs or cobwebs or anything like that, then we change the energy of our space as well, which allows us to change our mental parts, which allows us to change our emotional part. And again, this is why we start with the physical. So one of the things, with letting go of the attachment of those things, yes, it can be hard. I'm not going to deny that, oh, just tossing your stuff or giving it away and stuff is going to be easy. It's not. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. It is absolutely going to be worth it. But here's the thing. I've said it and I will say it time and time again. If you don't use it, why do you have it? If it doesn't bring you, as Marie Kondo would say, if it doesn't bring you joy, why is it in your space? Why do you allow that item it's going to be an item because we're talking about the physical part. Why do you allow that item to be in your home, especially if it's in the open, where you can walk by it and subconsciously, some of this stuff can be subconsciously. You walk by and why is that even there? Why is that even there? Why do I even keep that? Why do I have? Or it's an item that reminds you of a particular time in your life that, A, you had so much money and you were able to spend it on all this jewelry or all these clothing and blah, blah, blah. And now you're at a point where, well, y'all are at a point basically where, obviously the economy is a little different than maybe when you first bought it. So now you're thinking, oh, well, I really wish I had that job still, or I really wish I was still in that, ability to buy all those things. That was a really good time. And now you're feeling depressed about that. Well, why are you keeping those things? A, especially if they don't fit. Let's say it's clothing and they don't fit. Why are you keeping that? Because now you're at a point where you're like, oh, that's when I was so skinny, or that's when I was, healthy and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you're just constantly giving yourself negative feedback, whether it's conscious, whether it's subconscious, you're constantly giving yourself negative feedback. So why keep those items? Why not keep everything that's in your closet for the right now? Because right now, it's all we got. That's all we've got. Don't bother, some people are like, oh, keep that, one outfit that maybe you'll fit into it one day. No, what you're going to do is, first of all, especially with clothing, styles change from now until then. Although the 90s are coming back, which is crazy for me to see my son enjoying the 90s style. And I'm like, oh my, that is not something I thought would come back. But hey, cool. Hey, we went from 80s, now we're in 90s. Yeah, maybe the 2000s will be back eventually as well. But the thing is, styles change. So why not have everything that's in your closet or in your drawers or whatever that actually fit you, that you feel comfortable, that you feel really good in? Find that couple pieces. And it doesn't have to be an expensive buy or an expensive thing, but find those pieces that actually bring you, happiness and actually bring you to a point where you're not self-sabotaging, where you're like, oh, I used to be that size. I really wish I was that size. As opposed to saying, wow, this really looks good on me. I really like the way this fits and feels on me. This is fantastic. That will switch your mental part, your emotional part. So get rid of the things that don't serve you that right now. And it's okay. And it's okay if you need to do a spiritual, thank you for, coming into my life. Thank you for providing me. Like, I remember one of the clients that I had back in the day, we were going and we were doing I think we were just doing it was just a closet. Like, it became a junk closet to her. And yeah, because it was actually the closet in the room, because she wanted to change the room into an art studio. And she was like, okay, this closet's in here, so we might as well do the combo. I was like, cool, let's do this. So when she was in the closet and when she was in the art studio, she had a bookcase and it was full of books, tons of books. And I was like, okay, what kind of books are there? Like, what's the newest book that you've read? Like, which ones are the ones? She's like, oh, I've read this, this was just last month. This was last year, blah, blah. And then she found a section of books from when she was in college. And she's like, why do I still have these? And I was like, okay, tell me, like, why do you still have them? Like, do you use them currently? She's like, no, because what I majored in college is not what I'm doing now. So why have I kept these? And so we got into that discussion, and that was the thing. Like, when you get into the physical decluttering, there are times where you're going to pause and you're going to need to reflect on it, and you're going to need to understand that, okay, why did I keep these? And for her, it was a time in her life that she made. Like, this was her first, you know, her parents wanted her to do something else and she decided to do, yeah, no, this is what I'm doing, whatever. So it was a form of rebellion against her parents. And that was a time that it continued. And she's like, but why am I keeping them now? I'm not even, she's like, I'm not even in that degree. I'm not even using that degree or whatever. She's like, so why do I keep? So what she did was she did a spiritual, like, thank you. Thank you for bringing me into those years in college. And thank you for allowing me to step up for myself. Because that's what it was. It was her first time standing up for herself and her wants and desires for her own life. And it just snowballed from there. But she didn't realize. She's like, oh my God, that's exactly why. She's like, I kept them because that was the first time I stood up against my parents, who were very controlling, very whatever. But it was great because she was able to thank them. She was able to let them go. And she's like, oh, you have no idea how freeing that was. She's like, they stayed there. I didn't think I was thinking about them. She's like, but subconsciously, I probably was keeping them because of that reason. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome that you can get to that point. And it didn't take long. Like, we only took, I think, maybe 5-10 minutes of a discussion of talking about it until it, and again, physically talking about it, like audibly talking about it, that's when she came to the realization. And that's usually the physical part. That's why we start with the physical part, because then we start talking out loud, we start hearing our own voices, and we start going, oh, that's why. Okay, cool. I don't need that in my life anymore. Okay, so now she's detached from that, and she no longer, like, there's no attachment to that side of, or that part of her life, except for the fact that she's like, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have that in my life to get me to where I am today. And where I am today is so much better than where I was. And those are the things. Like, that's why when we detach from the physical things, and when we can say, hey, I don't use this anymore, this doesn't honor, like, I don't honor it the way that it's supposed to. I've kept it in the back of a closet. That's the biggest thing. If you're keeping things in the back of a closet, now mind you, if it's obviously photos or whatever, and I usually am somebody that, okay, display some photos and stuff, but there are some things that you just don't want to display because they're too fragile or whatever. But just make sure that you're actually, like, bringing them out and honoring them again as the item, as the memory, as whatever. I'm not saying, you have to do it every day or every week or whatever, just once in a while. Because again, that's still energy in your closet. If you've got a pile in there, take it out, physically clean that area, put it back, thank all the stuff and everything like that. But it's all about the being able to honor what you do have. And if you don't use it, if you don't give it its purpose, because I remember another one that I do is I had a teacup or a tea. It was like one of those silver, not real silver, but it was a metal teapot. That's what it was. Metal teapot and set and everything like that. And I was definitely not one that drank tea at the time. I do every once in a while now, but I'm more of a coffee drinker. But I kept taking that tea set again and again from one house to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. And I'm like, why do I do this? Why am I taking this and not honoring it? Because it just ended up staying in a cupboard, in the back of a cupboard, and whatever. And I'm like, why do I have this? Do I have it because I think that if I give this away, I'm giving away the memory of my grandmother? Because if that's the case, my memory of my grandmother will always be with me. So this physical item isn't her. Just because it was hers and she used it doesn't mean that I use it the same. And I definitely was not using it the same, and honoring that item that she didn't really give it to me just after she passed. It was one of the things I got. But it was like, I could give this away, and somebody else who really does want that and will display it and will, or use it in its way that it's supposed to be used, or even make it like, into something done. Like, had I had it now, whatever, I probably would have put it into like a planter. There's no doubt I would have actually made it into a plant pot and stuff like that. But again, it's one of those things where I gave it away because I wasn't honoring the item it was. It was built to be that, or it was built to, be because it was a nice pot. Like it was just plain silver and stuff like that, but it was nice. But again, I kept shoving it in the back of the back of the cupboard in the kitchen. So yeah, so I gave it away. Do I still have memories of my grandmother? Yeah. Will I still honor other things that she's given me? Yeah. So it's really thinking about the physical space and the things that you physically have in your home. Are you giving it its just service in the sense of what it is? Are you honoring it? Are you even if it is, like I said, if I still had it today, I probably would have put it into a plant pot and it would have been displayed with one of my plants. Probably actually what I would have done, because I've got one of her plants that my sister had given me, I probably would have put her plant in that and then honored it that way. Am I sad that I don't have that now? No, because I still have her plant and I still have other things of hers and stuff like that. But again, it's these things that it's okay if you don't use it in the exact way it's whatever, but just not shoving in the back of a closet or the back of a cupboard and never using it ever and just moving it from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. That doesn't serve anybody. That doesn't serve you. That doesn't, whatever. You get into the self-talk of that afterwards going, oh, I really should do something with this. I should. That doesn't do us any good when we should all over ourselves. And I hope that didn't sound like anything different. But the other thing is too, when we physically declutter, when we declutter the physical environment, we're creating a space, a sacred space for ourselves and our family. We are creating a space intentionally to meet who we are in the moment, who we are wanting to be as well. Because when we think of things, and that's what you want to do with the physical space, is you want to think of, where am I going? Not where was I, but where am I going? Where am I right now and where am I going? How can I make this a space that my future self will appreciate? And that's where the physical decluttering comes in. And then, obviously it aligns you better with you and your higher self, because when you take out the physical stuff that you no longer use, whatever, and you remove it from your home, and that's what you have to do. Don't just put it in a box and leave that box at the front door. You literally have to physically remove it. And that's one of the episodes, I forget which episode, I believe it was back in May, I did an episode of the actual, okay, I decluttered. Now what do I do with the stuff? So go back to that episode that is in the playlist as well. And it does, there's different ways you could do it. You can do a garage sale. You can, put it on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace or all those, local things that you can sell clothing or sell stuff or whatever. There's so many different ways that you can allow that item to still be used and not just thrown in the garbage. Garbage is the last resort in my eyes, because garbage just continues to add to our environment. And that's just, I'm more environmentally friendly than I am not. And then, like I said about the release rituals as well, if you need to thank the items, if you need to, after you've done the physical decluttering, smudging your space, allowing that energy to be cleared fully. After you've decluttered and cleaned, whatever, smudge your space, because this is a new space for you. Energetically, this is new for you. So getting to that point of being able to start anew, and hey, today is a new moon. Hey, new beginnings, all that stuff. So happy new moon to everyone who, is on that part of understanding, different things. But it's new beginnings, new things for you. So yeah, smudging or however you clear your space spiritually, do that after you've done the physical decluttering. Whether it's just room by room you do that, or if you decide as a family that, hey, this weekend, this is what we're doing. We're going to do it. And I suggest, I remember back in, I think it was May again, where I suggested doing the Pomodoro session, where you're doing decluttering for 45 minutes and you take a 15-minute break. Go back to 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break, and do that for however many hours in the one day. And you'll be amazed at how much you get done, because you're being timed. So that item that you would have spent 5-10 minutes, reminiscing about, you're like, done. Okay, cool. And it gives you that physical part of motivation and everything like that. So there's that as well. And then the inner transformation. If I can just say one thing about the physical decluttering, is it absolutely 100% will change everything else. The mental, the emotional, the spiritual. There is no way it cannot. If you're decluttering your physical space, there is no way it can't change the rest of you. and your life. And you will notice and you will be like, oh my goodness. Now, mind you, it could be totally different ways. It could be once you clear out the physical space, there's going to be more emotions that come up. Depending on what the emotion is, could be happy, could be sad, could be all the above. But that's when we get to, okay, your physical space is now good. What's next? Am I going to go and, figure out the emotional side of this? Am I upset that I did this? Why am I upset? Why are these emotions coming up? Why am I mad now? Why am I, whatever, different emotions. And that is totally normal. Do not make yourself feel bad that, oh, now I'm overly emotional. No, that's part of it. When you clear out the physical part, the rest of it, you've given it room to come through. And for that to also be looked at, to be analyzed and understood, and then cleared as well. So that is like the biggest thing that I say with the physical. Once you do the physical part, is the rest of it will for sure come through. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe this week at some point, maybe next week, maybe next month. Maybe all of a sudden you just go and you're walking, whatever, and then something just comes up. You remember, as you were physically decluttering, you remember something and you're like, oh my goodness, I am so happy I was able to do that because, and then a memory comes through. And then you're like, oh my goodness, just like, my client where she was, the memory of her books was her standing up for herself against parents. She was 20, I think just under 20 or 20 years old or something like that when that happened. And she was like, it was the biggest moment in my life at that time. But she's like, but it's not anymore. So why do I? And she's like, but I'm thanking the fact that came through. And that's the thing. Like, it might bring up something that it was the biggest time of that moment. That item was that moment, but you were able to let it go. And now you're able to be like, okay, thank you. Thank you for getting me through that, moment and allowing me to be at the moment I am today. So yeah, so like, I know Jessica, this was from before, but showing the gratitude. Gratitude is huge. Gratitude for everything, for, even the physical clutter, because having the physical clutter, yes, as much as it, is the combination of everything else, but it's right in your face. So a lot, like, gratitude for the fact that, okay, this is right in my face. This has allowed me to really get in my face and understand that something needs to change. Hence the declutter for change, because that's where it becomes, is we get to these moments, and sometimes if we don't pay attention or we're not whatever, it will hit us hard. And that's where the physical clutter comes in, is it's hitting you hard. It's right in your face. It's literally on your floor and you're tripping over it. And it's getting in your face saying, hey, this needs to change. And then when you do the physical stuff, then all of a sudden the rest of it comes out and says, this needs to change. And you declutter for that. And then the next one comes out and your mental stuff is coming out and you're like, oh, this needs to change. And then your spiritual stuff. And then you're like, wow, I'm closer to who I really want to be. I'm realizing I don't want to spend as much time at work doing what I do. I'd rather spend that time with my family. Like, there's so many different things and ways that we get shown, and we have to we have to, show the gratitude for all those things, because yes, even though they're, making us cry or angry or anything like that, it's still that gratitude for that moment to get us to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. Because guess what? Decluttering, it's not a once and done thing. It is not a once and done. I'm the expert and I continually do it. My, I have I'm just pointing at the wall, but in the middle closet, there is, it's supposed to be a linen closet, but we've got it as a linen closet, as cleaning stuff, as a first aid and stuff. And every once in a while, I'm like, okay, we got to clear it out, because have we used this? Have we used that? Have we used that? Like, I downsized all of our sheets and stuff like that, because I was like, why do we need more than, 1 or 2 sets per bed when we literally only have those beds? Like, I don't need more than that. So I gave it away. I was able to, ask the kids, hey, do you guys like these ones? Do you like the colors? Do you what? No, I'd actually like a new bed sheet. And that's what my son said. I'd like a new bed sheet. I'm like, cool. Do you have a color in mind? Do you have whatever? Yeah. So we got rid of the old one. We got him a new one, because it brought him, more comfort, or more, like, he just liked it better, like the color better, like whatever. I was like, cool, no problem. So that's basically why we do the physical stuff first, is because, again, it's the easiest, because it is literally tangible, because we can physically see it, we can physically touch it, We know that it's there. And then it allows us, when we clear that out, it allows the rest of it to come through to the surface, and we can clear that. And then, like I said, start physical, start where it's, whether it's your bedroom, whether it's I always say the entrance because it's the first part of when you come into your home. So you don't want those negative feelings as soon as you're walking through your entire home, because you'll bring that negative through the doorway into your home, and you don't want that. So start with the front entrance is usually one of the best things, is because, again, you want to walk into your home feeling good about your home, because that is your home. That is your home represents you as who you and your family are. So that's one of the big things there. And then, like I said, again, gratitude for all the ways you got to where you are, clutter and all. The clutter allowed you to get where you are today. If you're not liking where you are today, maybe look at the physical clutter, maybe look at the emotional clutter, the mental clutter, and the spiritual clutter. All four of those are very, very connected to who we are and what we are in our life. And when we put focus on those, and when we clear things that are no longer serving us, that we are attached to, but we need to remove that attachment and be mindful of what we're bringing into our lives, then we start to understand that, okay, cool. This is an ongoing process. Just because I did it last month doesn't mean I can't do it this month. Just because I did it last year doesn't mean I don't do it this year. So it's a big, big thing that we do. And like I said, the physical clutter is obviously the most prevalent way that we can see that there is clutter in our life. And when it gets to the physical part, that just means that there's other stuff in our lives. So that is what I have for today. If there's any other questions or anything like that, please feel free to email me at heather@declutterforchange.com if you want. Next show is going to be Wednesday, September 6th, 2023 at 10 a.m. EDT, and that is going to go over storage. Do you need it or not? I don't know if that's the actual title of it. I'll probably have a better SEO version title, but storage. I'm a big we'll go into that on the next episode. You'll have to tune in next time for that one. But so that is all for today. And thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for coming in live and or the replay. And we'll talk to you next time.